Hello and welcome to End Prohibition. I'm your host, Dana Larsen. With me today is Nicole Seguin, National Director of End Prohibition, New Democrats Against the Drug War. And we're here today to talk about some of the NDP conventions we've been to over the last year. It's been a busy year, hasn't it, Nicole?
It has indeed. We've been really active both in the NDP and continuing with the work that you and Mark Emery have been doing with ending marijuana prohibition.
We've been very busy indeed, and we've been to four conventions this year, right? We were When you were at four, I was only at three.
Right.
But we went to the Yukon, we went to Quebec, we went to Alberta, and then you were at the Young New Democrats convention as well in BC.
Exactly.
So what was the first one we went to again? I can't even remember now. They all get blurred together.
Exactly. Well, it was way back in the spring of this year, and our first convention, we started out with going to the Yukon. So that took place in Whitehorse, and it was my first time in the Yukon, and I just have to say it's a beautiful city with great people. It's a fairly small town, so the level of activism there is really high per capita, so it was really exciting to meet up with people in the area.
It was nice seeing there was a real resurgence of NDP activity there as well, and the party seems like it's getting poised to take government or to have a big influence in provincial politics.
Exactly. Very strong commitment to returning to the principles of the NDP, so social justice, and we had a great reception talking to people within the party about both medical marijuana and harm reduction.
And we passed two resolutions, so we had a big hand in getting their policy changed there, right? Now because of our work, and of course the people of the New Democrats in the Yukon, we got a resolution through on medical marijuana support, and one on harm reduction in general, and needle exchange, and supervised injection sites, and things like that. So hopefully that'll lead to some positive change in the Yukon. And I know that you were thrilled to meet, you're a big fan. Why don't you tell us about the Battlestar Galactica fellow who was there?
Exactly. Well, for everyone that wants to be involved in politics and have a chance to rub shoulders with some stars, you should go to the Yukon NDP, where we met an actor from Battlestar Galactica, which I have to admit I'm a huge fan of, Tamo Penniket. And he was very charming, great, very friendly, and took a free mark button, as I recall.
He was very sympathetic to our work, and he was there because he's the son of the former NDP premier.
Tony Penniket.
That's right, yeah, Tony Penniket. So it was nice to see him there, and part of the advantages of being in the NDP, you get to meet some of these celebrities.
Exactly.
And we were also in Alberta, which was really nice, in the little town of Red Deer.
Yes.
And we met lots of New Democrats there. And we have a friend, fellow NDP and End Prohibition member, Noreen Shapansky.
Hi, Noreen.
And she owns a store in Camrose called Peddlers, which is a wonderful little hemp store, head shop, a great place. And if you're in the area, you should go down and pay her a visit. And she got a resolution through in her riding calling for both marijuana legalization to be supported provincially and for harm reduction and supervised injection and whatnot. Exactly. We weren't able to get it on the floor of the convention. There was a lot of other resolutions, but it didn't get voted on at all. So it's going to go to provincial council and the next meeting, and hopefully we'll get it through there and see it pushed into policy in Alberta.
Exactly. And we'll keep everyone up to date on that with possibly another show, and if not, definitely up on our website, endprohibition.ca, where you can also find all the NDP drug policies that we help pass at all these conventions.
And one of the funnest parts of the Alberta convention, it's not drug policy related, but Brian Mason and the videos that they were showing was really awesome. Every year they make a Christmas video, and they are hilarious. And they had one that was a takeoff on Monty Python Knights of the Holy Grail, and they had Brian Mason and his fellow MLAs riding around on their with the coconuts going on their pretend horses, and it was really funny. They don't take themselves too seriously, and they have a good time, and I really enjoyed that. So that was a lot of fun.
Exactly. So for everyone out in Alberta, extra incentive, join the NDP. They're a really fun bunch, and you'll have a great time.
It was hilarious, yes indeed. And then you were at the Young New Democrats convention in BC. I don't qualify as a young NDPer anymore, although I'm young at heart, of course. But tell us about that and what happened there.
Sure. Well, we were up in Kamloops for the BC Young New Democrats convention. It was just a provincial convention, but it was a wonderful time. It was quite busy. We went up on Friday and left on the Sunday. We had, now then NDP leader Carol James came to speak to us and really talk about the NDP and about how they're addressing the range of issues that go from youth to seniors. And we also had Nikki Ashton, MP from Manitoba, come out and speak to us, and she is one of the youngest MPs in the House today, so she had a lot of great things to say about youth becoming involved in politics and not being kind of scared off by some of the less favorable tendencies of political parties. She's, in my opinion, a real testament to how youth can get involved and really be successful within political parties today.
Well, that sounds great, and I'm glad that you were there and also able to represent End Prohibition at this event as well.
Absolutely.
And continue to spread our word of drug policy reform and marijuana legalization and the things we're trying to do in the party everywhere we go.
Exactly. And sorry, I should mention that Nicholas Simons, MLA from BC, was there as well, and he's the liaison between the youth and the provincial party. So if you're a young person in BC, so if you're under the age of 26, definitely contact Nicholas Simons for more about how the BC NDP is really supporting the youth component of the party.
And Nicholas is a great guy, and I'm proud to call him a friend of mine as well. He's in my former riding of Powell River Sunshine Coast, and he's a great human being, and hope one day he might be leader of the BC NDP, although we'll see how that goes in the future, that's for sure. But he's a really good guy. I really admire his work.
Absolutely.
And our last convention of the year was in Gatineau, Quebec, which was a very exciting time. And I think they were all great, but that one was really special being in Quebec, partly because the NDP has gone from, before Jack Layton became leader, the NDP was very weak in Quebec. Now we've got our first elected, who's been re-elected twice now, or being elected twice now, Thomas Mulcair.
Exactly.
We got to speak to him, and he gave some good talks at the convention. And they've got some other people who were very close to being elected last time, and look like they're going to come into power this time. And so seeing the growth of the NDP in Quebec is really an amazing thing, because I think that Quebec is a very left-leaning province and very receptive to a lot of these ideas, including receptive to drug policy reform and marijuana legalization as well. And so seeing the growth and the enthusiasm of the NDP there, it made me practice some of my French immersion French. I know you were struggling to keep up sometimes with the French there, but it was a really good convention. And for me, the big highlight was getting to talk to Jack Layton in person a few times. It was a smaller event, and so we were able to get his attention a few times, and he enjoyed our I Token, I Vote buttons and our End Prohibition shirts, and we talked to him about his appearance on This Hour was 22 minutes, and when they had the host putting the marijuana into the brownies for her glaucoma, and they had a little clip of them singing Legalize It, so that was nice to see Jack representing, and he was very friendly towards us and supportive of our work, which is always nice to see. And I know Jack himself believes in drug policy reform and in marijuana legalization, as he's made clear many times. And part of our work in the party is getting these resolutions and these things through so that we can have an official stance on this within the party. And we have some good stances now on decriminalization and on harm reduction, but we really need to get a good resolution through the convention next year in Vancouver and solidify and create a real holistic approach that I think we've done with that resolution. But Quebec was a lot of fun being there, and we were able to hop over to Ottawa. I know I'm just going on. I'm going to let you talk now. We had a nice chance going over to Ottawa as well and meeting with, what was it? We've been with a couple of MPs out there, right? And
exactly.
That was really good.
Expert panel on drug policy, which was fantastic. We did see quite a few MPs there.
That was an amazing event.
Across the country, really. We had Conservative MP Scott Reid, who we should mention is a very outspoken libertarian that does not shy away from this issue at all.
I wish there was more conservatives like Scott Reid and less conservatives like Stephen Harper. Definitely, I don't agree with Scott Reid and everything, but I like that style of conservatism a lot more, that they believe in liberty and not in prisons.
Exactly. So MP Scott Reid, Liberal MP Keith Martin.
Mm-hmm. He's a good friend of drug policy reform as well, and has worked at it for much of his career.
Exactly. Of course, MP Libby Davies of the NDP.
And Cole Martin was there as well.
Exactly.
Cole Martin was there too as well from the NDP. So it was a good collection of people. This was a drug policy reform meeting. They had the ambassador from Portugal there. Portugal's engaged in some really new drug policy decriminalization, essentially, and he talked about that. And they had a representative from Canadian Students for Sensible Drug Policy, and they had a fellow from, I forget the group now, but it was like it's a harm reduction group in Vancouver that runs like a rehabilitation house for people who are addicts or wanting to get clean. And it was a really good panel. It was nice seeing the people there talking about drug policy reform and having some MPs be educated. So along with our 4 conventions, we got to go to this as well.
Exactly. Oh, and I should also mention that there was a speaker from LEAP there, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, which is another great organization. Their website is leap.cc.
Yeah, and that guy was really actually quite interesting. He talked about how he'd worked in narcotics and policing for most of his life, and then he watched the video. Someone gave him the DVD, and it sat in his house house for a few months and eventually thought, what the heck, and plugged it in. And by the end of watching this like 30-minute DVD, he had become convinced enough to give them a call, and now he's on tour talking about the harms of Prohibition, and he's still an active police officer, which is nice to see that there's police officers willing to come out and be convinced by the information that's out there and realize that this war has failed and that there's better things, and it hurts police officers as well as everyone else. It's not good for anybody.
Exactly.
And but the conventions were great to go to. Meeting all these people was fabulous. We got to meet a lot of our fellow New Democrats across the country and have some good social events and enjoy their company and make some good bonds. Mm-hmm. And this built us all up to the most important event coming up next year, which is the federal convention coming to Vancouver in early June. And if you are not an NDP member right now, you can become a New Democrat very easily. Go to ndp.ca/join, sign up online, or go to your provincial New Democratic Party page, download their PDF file of the membership form, fill one of those out and send it in. It only costs a few dollars. If you're underemployed in British Columbia, it costs $2, and it's comparable in most other provinces. So it's not a big financial investment, but it's a good investment in your future and in your liberty. And we all need to get together. And if you join the party now or soon, then you'll be eligible to come to Vancouver in June as a delegate. You can come stay at my house if you want, or other people's homes, or making them available for billet space. We'll make sure you have a great time. We've got a resolution on drug policy that we've put together with the great help from Libby Davies, and other MPs are signing into it. And we want you to bring it up in your local riding association so that we can get this passed into policy and have the NDP have a really firm and solid policy on marijuana legalization and drug policy reform. And Nicole, of course, will be there. We're going to have lots of people at this convention. It's going to be a fabulous time. But you have to do the work. We can't get you there. You've got to join the party. You've got to go to your local meeting. If you go to ndp.ca, type in your postal code in the bottom of the screen. It'll give you your local riding association president. Give that person a call. Tell them you want to get involved. It's not that hard to be a delegate. We can also help with carpooling or organization to help get you here to Vancouver for that time. We can make sure you have a place to stay. And we can work together to get some good changes happening in the NDP and to participate in the party. And it'll be a lot of fun. We always have a good time at these conventions. You know, there's some work involved, but there's a lot of social activities, a lot of fun times to be had. A lot of young people get together from across the country. There's even subsidies the party makes available if you're a young and New Democrat. If you're under 25, you can apply for funding or for help getting here, or they will waive some of your delegate fees or make it cheaper. So it's a really good time. And you've been to a lot of conventions now, and you have a good time? Is it worthwhile?
Absolutely. No, the hardest part is really just signing up and making that initial donation. So once you're at the convention, we'll make sure that you have a fantastic time, and don't worry about what happens at the convention. We can guide you through all the processes. You don't need to be an NDP expert. All you need to do is join the party, sign up, and then contact us at End Prohibition. Let us know that you are an NDP member and you are promoting our resolution at your riding association. That's all you need to do.
And if you need any help, contact Nicole Seguin. What's your email address, Nicole? How do they contact you?
At NicoleSeguin.com, or you can reach me at Nicole@endprohibition.ca. And all my contact information is up on the website under Contact Us.
We will see you in Vancouver next June. Thank you so much. Be there.